Recording. Here we are.
Testing.
Kaisa, how are you doing?
I'm good. I mean, I feel like it's not a simple answer to answer how I'm doing right now because
Yeah.
life is so crazy, but I honestly, Les, I was so excited to get back to our podcasting. It just feels like I need a little bit of what used to be normal back into my life and like schedules. So I'm excited to check in with you. How are you doing?
I'm excited to check in too. I feel the same way. I feel like when we had our recording session that we did at the beginning of March, that in my head was kind of like the end of normal. I feel like right
Yeah.
after that was when things started, we got a new normal for a while.
Wait, side note, that is very true because we were worried about you getting on the plane to go
Yeah.
back to Cali.
Yeah.
Dang.
That was right when things started picking up. So it's been a wild ride.
It's been a month, which feels like a year.
Yes. It's been a year within a month.
It's so crazy. Well, how are things going on your end with like work and life and
It's good. I mean, my daily life hasn't changed too much because I already worked from home full time. And so my job I'm still in it. I still have plenty of work, which is good. So I haven't been negatively impacted financially in that way, which is good. It has been hard to continue working business as usual. That is kind of the other side of that. Like, I'm so blessed that my job has not been impacted because I know so many people are not as fortunate, but it is still really hard to like continue working business as usual when all of this is going on and to be focused in all of that.
No, I mean, I hear you there. I feel like, especially with social media, it's like, everybody is consuming it so much more right now. And you just feel so hyper aware of not acting like we're in a normal world right now. Honestly, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we wanted to keep this podcast going right now, because it just feels so wrong not to acknowledge that we're all in, uncharted territories and, the unknown is scary. We need to acknowledge that it's there.
Yeah. And it's unknown for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy times. I mean, literally as we speak, I think I just saw that Virginia has extended their stay at home until June 10th.
Yeah, I saw that.
June 10th. Which it's so crazy because I'm so day to day. So I'm so curious about how everybody is doing. But for me, it's so day to day. Like some days I wake up and I'm totally fine. And my world previously to all this had been very, like isolated. Like, when you run your own, business, you're kind of doing your own thing a lot. So at first it was kind of like, okay, this is okay. Just I'm out of my normal routine with seeing my people and working out. But now it hits me so hard some days. And some days I'm like, you feel so claustrophobic that you can't go back to what was, and what was, not sounding like doomsday, but what was, is nowhere in sight.
Yeah. No, that's so true. Just those little things, kind of those daily activities and routines, I think is what I realized I missed a lot.
Yeah.
Realizing how many things I do in a day that are considered non-essential. Apparently all of my hobbies.
No, but that's the thing. It's so crazy that the non-essential or like the most routine basic things are honestly the things that I miss the most as well. Like the other day I just made a post, because it was like, well, for several reasons. But when I was thinking about things, I was like, the things that I miss the most right now is my routine, going to the gym, seeing my people, working, the most basic things. And that's where, when you see a lot of the stuff, the most positive thing coming out of this is like, we better be different as, this all unfolds and hopefully, sometime soon goes away. We better be changed.
Yeah. Absolutely. I know. I was thinking a lot about that the past couple of days because the first week or so of having to stay in, it didn't bother me too much, but I think it's because I didn't fully understand the severity of the situation. So I think now that we're learning more and more news is coming out, understanding what's happening has definitely changed my perspective a lot. But then I also realized a lot of my normal coping mechanisms are taken away. Just being able to go for a hike or go for like a long walk outside or go to the beach or go to a coffee shop. Like normally when I'm in my head and struggling, those are all the things that I do. And
Yeah.
now it's like, okay, how can I be super creative with how I cope and take care of myself with
Yeah.
all of those things off the table?
Oh, no, girl, I'm right there with you. I mean, my coping mechanism obviously is like movement, but it's not moving alone. It's moving with people, you
Yeah.
know? And so for me, when all this happened, I'm just now getting, so we're on week 2, I think. I'm just now getting into more of a normal routine of doing things on my own because I don't enjoy moving on my own, you know? And so my same coping mechanism, you know, is like yanked out and I have to figure out a whole new world. And like, let me just start by saying that this is like very minimal things to have to figure out when there are so many people in this world that are figuring out or having to figure out how they're just going to survive. So I feel like
Yes.
I just don't even feel like it's okay for me sometimes to even be talking about those types of things. Um, you know, because I have a roof over my head and my family's healthy and I'm fine. But it's interesting because it hit me hard this weekend where I was realizing I wasn't allowing myself to have any feelings about being frustrated or, you know, whatever it may be. I was just constantly trying to say like, but I'm lucky, but I'm lucky, but I'm so fortunate, but I'm so fortunate. And it hit me like a shit ton of bricks on Sunday. Like I was like, you know, so not myself and so like angry and upset and like volatile. And so I realized I just had to, with myself, I didn't have to like outwardly put it anywhere, but I had to give myself a moment to be like, this fucking sucks. Like this sucks being an extrovert. I do not know how to handle being stuck in a home, being somebody that likes routine. I don't know how to handle it. And it's okay to have a moment of this fucking sucks. Like I can't live in it. And I can quickly say I'm so grateful and fortunate, but I had to at least give myself a breather for a minute to just say like, yeah, you can say it out loud. Like this freaking sucks, you know? But
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it's super important to do that, to hold that space, to say, hey,
yeah,
I'm in a great position and I'm so fortunate and grateful for that. And I recognize and want to give back to those who are not, and then also still acknowledge the ways that you personally are impacted. Like both of
yeah.
those things can be true at the same time.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that like the dichotomy of that, because I think one thing is what I realized was one of the main things I had promised once this started happening and we realized people were going to be inside is like I've got to step up to the plate and do the thing that I know that I can do to give back to people, which is to keep them moving. And what I started realizing this weekend was when I go into my like, you know, Debbie Downer spiral and I can't pull myself out of that, then I can't even do the necessary things to give back to others. And so that was that moment of like, okay, it's like you got to put the mask on real quick if you're in the airplane. I've got to have one small brief moment of, you know, throwing my little tantrum, and then I've got to get back to, you know, reality and the real world and doing what we can. And we all need to do what we can to help out, you know, everybody around us, even if it's in the smallest act, you know, but still being okay with feeling a certain type of way, you know, around this right now was kind of a realization for me.
Absolutely. That all of those feelings are valid.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's crazy, you know, I mean, day by day now I don't, I'm honestly, I'm trying to stay off of the media and social media not for the most part, because it's still, you know, I go on to check in every once in a while, but it's just so intense and crazy to realize the magnitude of this. And just like, because the unknown you can't even grasp around like how this is going to be, you know, changing the world forever as we come out of this. And what does that world even look like? You know,
Oh,
that's
totally. I mean, a
intense as
lot of
fuck.
people talk about things going back to normal, and I'm like, who's she? I don't know her. Who's
Yeah,
normal? Because
no.
there's going to be a very different normal at some point after
Yeah,
all of this, and my only hope is that things become kind of a necessary normal. I mean, I think
yeah,
it's no surprise that at least in our society we have had work to do for a very long time. We've had
Yeah.
work to do in education. We've had work to do in healthcare. We've had work to do when it
Yeah.
comes to equity. All of those systems are broken. None of that is new information. And we're being handed something that is like,
Yeah.
all of these things need to be fixed right now.
Yeah.
They cannot wait any longer.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious, I'm hoping that the new normal truly addresses those things and makes those systems more equitable for everybody. But I hate that it's taking something so destructive to wake people up to that.
Yeah. And then you just don't even want to hold your breath to think that, people are going to wake up because I don't even want to be Debbie Downer, but you just at this point in time, even though they say COVID is the big equalizer, it's not. It's not. If you have, money right now, you're fine. You're fine. And that's the thing is a lot of, the change comes from the top and the people in power. And if they're not affected by this, it is what it is. And that's when you hope that, the people can start waking up and realizing how fucked up our systems are. And I think that's where they always say, the change happens from the people. It's not right now. I mean, and always not going to happen from, the head honcho in charge. So yeah, I mean, I think on, trying to be positive about it, I think it's woken a lot of people up. And I think that that's all that we can really do is, be hopeful that we continue to wake up and that we don't need, a slap in the face this big, to start creating change in our world and the world around us.
Absolutely. And I do think on another note, I mean, one thing that's been really refreshing to see, kind of speaking on change happening at the people level, is just seeing people pitch in and lend a helping hand, whether it is like medical supplies or even creating resources to keep people well and healthy and moving, and content, even if it's just stuff going out to make people laugh. I mean, I think even seeing that happen over the past couple of weeks has been a really good reminder of change happening at the people level, and a reminder that I think a lot of people are good.
Yeah.
Which we need reminders
totally.
of.
No, absolutely. I definitely, we're always quick to see the negative, and the negative always feels, so much bigger than the positive. And I think the other thing too is you do realize that we're all in this together. You know what I mean? And I think that's one of those things that you just realize, we're being affected by it differently, and it's, change our lives differently. But at the end of the day, we really are all in this together right now. And it's going to take, the effort of the masses and the groups to be able to move us past this, So yeah, we can always try to look at the positive in everything, but there's a lot of darkness around it as well.
Totally. Man, I'm all about holding space for both.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we should breathe. It's been so interesting though for me because the movement aspect is it's fascinating to pay attention what's happening, in our own little worlds. And for movement is always my coping mechanism. I just didn't realize how much it was my coping mechanism, not just because I was moving, but because I was with people and with community, and how difficult it was and has been for me to get back to movement in a way that I just haven't done in so long. So that's been, there's learning lessons left and right over here. But how much it throws me off, when I'm not doing it. I mean, that's so eye-opening to me. And so it just makes me want to speak even louder about the fact of we have to stay moving, in every way, shape, or form. And not just even physically, but moving right now, through these moments, is one of the most important things, the day by day, the movement forward.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. And I think just remembering to breathe. I noticed lately I forget that or I take it for granted. And I'm just remembering to take a deep breath throughout the day.
Yeah.
It feels like movement. It's that same idea.
Oh, it's totally, because I think that's one of the things that we don't realize is whether or not it's like directly impacting you right now in a very intense way. There's so much pressure on everybody as a whole in this world that like that weight, we're all carrying that weight, you know? And it's like, even I hang out with my nieces now, I'm watching them twice a week. And sometimes like I have to leave a lot of room and space for them to have a little bit more of their temper tantrums or whatever's going on, because they're also feeling the weight of everything happening right now. And it's like, you just, yeah, the breathing, just even the simple thing of breathing, you realize you're holding your breath. Like I'm tense, I'm holding my breath, I'm in way more bad moods than normal. Like everything is affecting us right now. And I think, you know, being connected to yourself and aware of that is super crucial right now.
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing that about watching your nieces and also giving them kind of extra space, like when they're going through it and feeling what they need
Yeah.
to feel. That's such a good point because kids feel it too, and they don't understand depending on how old they are. I mean, your nieces are really little, so they don't understand exactly what's happening, but they can
Yeah.
feel the energy, or they hear adults talking about it and they know,
Yeah.
whatever's going on, it's not
It ain't
good, even if
good.
they don't know the details.
No, absolutely. I mean, so the older one is 5 and she loves school. So right now she's not in her routine of school. And my sister manages a grocery store. So my sister's stressed. So there's like, you know, the stress of the world, there's stress everywhere. But it was the other day, um, it was literally something so simple as I think she didn't like the jacket that she had then she needed to put on to go outside. And she had a full on meltdown, which isn't like Cooper. It's not like her at all. And I literally just had to say, do you need a hug right now? Do you want Kiki to get, they call me Kiki. I was
Yeah.
like, do you want Kiki to give you a hug? And she was like, yes. But it was like, you just realize in that moment, like, holy shit, like this is intense for every single person in the world right now. And it's just like, you know, coming together and being there for people and being there for ourselves and for, you know, those around us is so important, is vital in order to get through this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what are some of the things that you're doing? I'm always curious what people's, you know, self-care tips are right now. What are you doing?
Yeah, what am I doing? To be honest, I don't think I've been a very good example. And I've been kind of struggling with that as someone who is in the wellness space and who has people looking to me for, being an example and being a model. I have kind of struggled with feeling like I'm not doing enough to be a resource to people or doing enough to provide tools for people to help them get through this. And I constantly go back and forth of, I don't feel like I have anything to give, like energetically. I'm like, I don't have it in me to pull together, resources or classes or whatever that looks like for
Yeah.
people. And then I go back and forth and I'm like, girl, do people need that, or do people just need space? Like, should
Oh
you
my
just
God.
continue doing your thing and creating space and let that be the thing?
Can we please talk about this?
Yeah.
Amen to that, because I especially feel like the fitness world and industry and wellness industry right now is the culprit of like I feel like they're perpetuating this anxiety that we're all having, right? Because it's like at this point in time, their message is basically you're at home, so you don't have any excuses. And what are they calling it? Your corona body or quarantine
Yeah.
body. Like you better not come out like that or something like that. And it makes me so furious. Like the last thing that some people need right now is movement coming from the movement woman herself. The last thing that some people need right now is like high intensity movement so that they can make sure that they look a certain way and yada, yada, yada. Like it's just fucking bullshit. Like, yes, I believe that everybody needs to move, but it may be for 1 minute that day, lying on a mat, breathing, moving your chest. You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
and so that is where I feel like right now, like if you're in tune with that, stay in tune with that. Like there are so many people that may just need to go to your page and recognize that you're not just over here acting like business as usual and that you're affected by this too. And I think that's so powerful in and of itself. Like I finally had to fucking say something the other day. It's like, I'm not just freaking moving and smiling over here. Like this shit's fucking stressful as fuck. Every day I'm waking up feeling different. Sometimes I feel okay. Sometimes I feel terrible. Like I'm To hell if you think that I'm over here freaking smiling 24/7 and just having a jolly good old time working out. Hell no. That's not what it is. I made a commitment that I'd put out content every single day to keep people moving. So I'm going to stick with that commitment. Absolutely. I said I would do that. I'm going to do that. But underneath and on the other side of that, there's a lot of shit going on. And as it is for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and it's that reminder that even the people who you see on the internet who create resources or create your favorite content are people behind that, right? You're not just a robot who's here to create movement routines and just pump them out. Like you're a human who's feeling all of these same things that we're all feeling.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I've always said this. I think that you can feel like what happens on social media is not just the image or the video that you're looking at. Like I feel like you can feel the energy that had when they were creating. And so that's my thing too, is like, I don't need to put more, negative or stressed out energy into the world. Like, how am I going to keep, like, I don't want to keep, perpetuating that. So if I'm going to post something, I've got a good space to do that. So every time I go, to post, I make sure I go at a time that feels good for me and we go do the damn thing. But yeah, it's just going back to, the industry and going back even further to being like, you got to do what you need to do right now. And whatever feels best for you, because at the end of the day, it's probably a lot of people are probably relating to that and feeling like they can, breathe for a second because they don't see you over here acting like shit's just a regular old day.
Yeah. Yeah. And I so hope, I mean, I think comparison on social media is always an issue. I know we've talked about that on the show before, but I really, really hope that people are just giving themselves lots of grace, even if they don't have the perfect at home workout plan, or even if they're not being super productive and organizing their closets or like building a new business or whatever these like memes are saying. I really hope that people are really pouring into themselves and just giving themselves the time and space they need.
Yeah. And like sleep. I think I see the other one too. It's like, you got to get up. Now you don't, like don't waste a day. And it's like, no, a lot of people's coping mechanism is sleep, and if that's what you need to do right now, then that's what you need to do. I think, and it's always like, we always go back to our conversations. I feel like every podcast leads us back to what are the things that you have that help you stay connected to yourself. So it's like in times like this, I hope that people, have those tools or have a second to try and find those tools, because I think that if you can be connected to yourself right now, and listen to what your body needs, then that's how you're going to get through this. And it's so fascinating for me. I've said this a few times in posts, but like the majority of what I want to do is lie on a mat and roll around and, do mobility work. Like that's what I've been doing for the majority of the time, through all of my movement. Like that's what it leads me to. And I think that whatever it is that people need to do right now, I hope that you can tune out all the other voices and just listen to that one, inside, the one that matters the most, AKA you.
Yep, absolutely. I think I've started trying to approach social media and content as kind of like a buffet of like, I'll take some of this because I like it. I don't like that. I will leave that there, in terms of the advice that people give, right? If someone's preaching about all the things that I need to be doing with this time, I'm like, I will take this because I like it and it resonates, and I will leave that at the buffet because I don't need to be too full. I don't want it.
Amen. Amen. No,
Grace.
I think, which I think is amazing. And I think that's how it always should be. Again, we've always said no shame in our unfollow game over here as well. Like, I just like, there's so many things right now where I'm just like, especially I feel like in my industry, especially in the fitness industry, and being somebody who is struggling with movement right now. Like, I'm struggling with movement and finding my routine and finding the new normal in all of this. And it's really difficult and it's very humbling, like very humbling. Somebody messaged me the other day and was like, I bet you're not just doing the Just 5 workouts. What else are you doing? And I was literally like, no, I am just doing the Just 5 workouts plenty of times. Sometimes I spend a little bit more time on a mobility routine. Sometimes I try to do, I have this hill outside my house, so I'm like trying to walk a little bit more, but no, like that's really what I'm doing right now. Shit's fucking real, So anyways, whatever, I think it just leads to like whatever feels best for people right now to be doing is key. And on top of this, I will say, and this is not shaming for drinking, but because everybody knows I love me a good drink. But what was also interesting for me is how much I'm masking it. Like how much I'm masking what I'm dealing with and kind of like that underlying anxiety and, stress. And so I had to, this weekend, I was like, all right, girl, cool. So all these happy hour FaceTime chats, all this, wine at night every night. Absolutely not. So I feel like that's also something that I personally, and I know we all have our coping mechanisms, but I personally was like, I can't try to act like shit's not happening right now and like cope and mask it. I need to be doing the work to make sure that I'm okay underneath it all. There doesn't need to be a Band-Aid right now. Like underneath what's really happening is really important to acknowledge and be present in. And however it's affecting me is important to acknowledge and recognize, because that's where the work really happens. Like I don't want to get I cannot live my life disconnected to myself. And for me, what I was really recognizing is how much I wanted to disconnect right now. And a lot of people like to disconnect and like, whatever, watch shows or whatever they do. But my ADD brain doesn't like to sit and watch a show. I like to calm down with like a glass of wine or tequila, like whatever it is. And so for me, that's another thing I had to recognize this week of like, I don't want to be coping through this. Like I want to deal with how I feel through this. I'm not saying I'm not going to have a glass of wine, but I was like, girlfriend, that can happen on the weekends. Weekends are still here. Like that can happen on the weekend, but like during the week and all day, every day, like I don't need to be coping. Like I need to be okay with how this is feeling,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that that's a really beautiful just expression of self-awareness. And it's just such a good reminder that it's not even necessarily that certain actions are good or bad or indifferent, but it's like you said, the work really comes from understanding the intention behind your actions. Like for a lot of circumstances, something like having a drink or doing several virtual happy hours isn't in and of itself a bad thing. But if you're noticing that the reason why you're doing those things is disconnecting you from yourself, then it's so important to have that why.
Yeah. No, and that's totally, that's what it is. Like certain things affect people differently. I am somebody that likes to escape reality because I can never turn my brain off. And so that's why I'm somebody that I like to party. I like to go out. I like to be social. I like to do things that kind of help me not think about the real world. And so I think that was something that I recognized this weekend because I was just so in a spiral and very Debbie Downer. And that's not, I have my dark times, but that's not really like me. Like I'm somebody, I feel like I get, I can pull myself together. And so, and it was interesting. And I was texting my brother and I was saying, I think I'm okay, but I recognize that. And he was like, you always go back to that. Like I do. I've had many moments in my life. This is going to sound like I have an alcohol problem, but I have many moments in my life where I realize I cope like, and I don't want to cope anymore. Like I'm not trying to cope and ignore what's happening. I'm trying to be very present and okay with what's happening right now can affect me. It's allowed to affect me. I don't just have to act like it's not there. And so that was my thing, and just being aware of that. And we all have not everybody copes the same, right? We all do things differently, but, being on my own right now in this time is, I'm can pay attention a lot to how I'm handling things.
Yeah. I appreciate you sharing that. I think what I was thinking as you were describing that was that we all have our own ways to kind of numb out. And it made me think like, girl, when you numb out, like, where do you go?
Amen.
That's a scary question.
Amen. And this is very fascinating because I feel like I love that you said this because this is where I started to go this weekend. I feel like when I numb out, I'm like, I think I'm right here floating on the surface, but I go deeper. Like I get more disconnected. That's the only way that I can describe this. Like I get more disconnected from the core of who I am so that when I come out of that numbed out, position, I'm actually way deeper and way further away. And I think that's where I started to realize, that I can't do this. And it's not, I'm working on not being a very black and white person. I'm working on not going to extreme. So it's not that I need to cut out alcohol. That's not it. But what I was saying was, to myself was, every time shit gets hard, you don't get to just go and have a drink right now. Like we're not going to do that right now. Like we're going to deal with why shit's hard right now. Why the hell you're frustrated, having anxiety, feeling like, you're angry, like whatever it is, just sit in it for a moment and deal with it, But yeah.
Woo, that's
Woo!
real. Woo.
Yeah.
And just to I'm just going to throw some gasoline on the fire.
Oh,
But I
Lord.
think part of why quarantine and this whole exercise is so hard is because we're being forced to do that in all areas of our life.
Oh, yeah.
Most of our distractions
Amen.
we can't have. We're literally just like grounded at home with our
Staring in a
thoughts.
mirror. Like it feels
Yes.
like you're just staring in a mirror all day, every day. And like, I would be the first person to say, okay, this is awesome. Like, what a great moment and great opportunity to like really look at yourself and dig deep, but also, holy fuck. Like, a lot of times when you look at yourself and you get going, like you're ready to go deep, it's like for me, it's been with the support of like a therapist or somebody like guide me through and work me through. And I know that I can walk out of this an hour later feeling like, okay, I got somewhere, I went somewhere today. But with this, sometimes like I don't always have the tools to guide myself down and back up, and that's
Yeah.
where I think that's where I was realizing I don't want to be afraid of the dark areas of myself. Like I don't want to need to cope from them or run away from them or, act like they aren't there. Like I know that they're there and I want to be okay, especially now, when they're really dark and really intense. I want to be okay looking at them and be like, it's okay. It's
Yeah.
totally okay that this is deep, dark shit right now. It's totally okay that the things that you're thinking about are just like, fucking depressing. That's okay. And for me, coming from somebody that likes to run away from depression, that's again another thing. Like you don't want to look at that. You don't want to go back to that fucking deep, dark place that you've been in. So yeah, this is a very long-winded way of saying I think that it's important to just be connected to ourselves, whatever it is that brings you some joy right now or makes you feel like you can listen to that voice inside of you. Just do more of it. Just keep doing it. Walk towards that. And the things that you feel like pull you away from yourself, or like for me, I recognize, the coping of when I come out even angrier the next day or even more in a spiral, that for me is like a reflection piece. So I think it's just being as aware as you possibly can, and knowing that being aware takes a lot of fucking energy. So some days I'm not as aware and I'm just freaking, trying to get through it. But yeah,
Ooh,
intense
it's so
times.
real. It is. I was thinking about maybe good coping mechanisms isn't the right word, but good kind of tools for getting through this. And I thought of one that I've been relying on a lot that I feel like you would appreciate, and that is music. I feel like I've been listening to so much music, like
Amen.
dancing has been my movement of choice for a few months now because my adventures in trying to learn how to dance have been
I love it.
interesting. But music has totally been it's been that thing for me where I have just been like listening to music and dancing a lot to try to
Amen. Dude, and have you
feel
paid
good.
attention to DJ Nice?
Yes. Oh, Club
So
Quarantine. Oh,
fire. Oh my gosh,
yeah.
so fire. And also the other day, it was interesting. So I'm right there with you. My music is playing 24/7.
Yes.
And the other day I was randomly on YouTube because I was filming, like I was using my phone, so I couldn't be on my phone. So then I used my computer for music, and I just YouTube 90s playlists. And so for me, I had 90s R&B, and it was like a DJ playlist. So it was like transitioning from song to song. I was
It
like,
was
oh,
good.
but amen to music right now. And that I feel like I should probably create some playlists or just give people some of the playlists that I've been listening to. But I think that's like, those are those things that we do have tools. We do have things. Reading, I am trying to do a little bit more of that. So I think that there's like, for me, what I'm going to are the things that calm me down,
Yep.
and I think that, and bring me like back to center. So obviously why I'm doing a lot of mobility, I guess. And that just clicked, but I guess my body's telling me I need to calm the fuck down. Yeah, but music, girl, that's been my 24/7 basically.
It's so healing, and it's something
Yeah.
everybody loves music, even if you love different types or
Yeah.
different genres. Everybody loves music.
Yeah.
Babies,
Yeah.
as soon as you turn on music, any baby that is able to
Yep.
move, like they
Yep.
are dancing and moving, like it's just
Yeah.
who we are.
Yeah. And I think the connection piece has also been really It's almost like I feel closer to some of my girlfriends, like, right, like my friends that I feel like in our day to day, we get so caught up in, our normal routines and schedules that we don't see each other that often. And I'm seeing them on, Skype like several times a week now. And so that's been really amazing. So I think that now that we're in, what are we in, like week 2 of things, I think that I'm like kind of trying to find the new normal. And I feel like there are a few things that have really come out of this that are the positive right now. And I think that's where, in the times that I keep trying to look at that and say, there are definitely some things that are happening that are good. And just trying to focus on them, not ignore the things that are, not good, but focus on the good.
Yeah. That's all we can do.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that I'm really excited to do the podcasting because just for anybody that's listening, Les and I had worked on season 2 of our podcast. And I think now we're just going to keep rolling them. Like, I think it's going to be one long season, but we had 4 episodes and we were getting ready to launch them. And it just felt off. Like it didn't feel right to just launch these episodes that we had done pre-corona and just act like everything was normal. So we're going to connect as much as we can during these times over our FaceTime calls and podcast this way. But in the same time, we'll also release our other content. So we'll just keep going with the conversation. So if there's things that people, want Les and I to touch on or talk about, we're really, we're here for Les and I to vent and talk and connect, but also just to be any type of encouragement or a space for people to come and, just feel like they're a part of. So definitely message us, let us know if there's things you want us to talk about, but Les and I will touch base at least once a week, if not more than that. So definitely keep hitting us with the questions, team.
Yeah, we're going to keep it coming.
We're going to keep it coming. I feel like that's a wrap for our first. We need a better name for Corona podcasting, but we'll come up with them. We'll come up with one soon. But
we'll think of something better.
Yeah. But thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. We just want to send you guys so much love. And I think it's important for us all to remember that we're in this together. And if you can be a positive light for somebody around you, please try to do that. If you have your times of darkness, that's all right as well. But we're all in this together and we are sending you so much love.